certainly one behind the scenes I thought might be very interesting. This is about the most extreme capture I've ever been involved with. And there's a story behind this. This is one of the examples where understanding the technology and working with someone like Tom Whitaker for motion analysis, no one had ever built a system over 16 cameras at that time and used it in production. So we needed to do a lot more. With the Matrix, they wanted to do, as you can see, a lot of extreme things. So working with Tom and his company, we took a big chance and we asked them to prepare a couple special chassis for us, special pieces of equipment, and took them in on the day to shoot, and we actually pulled off the production, and we shot 2 films and the video game simultaneously. But even since then, and this is well over 10 years ago, this is 12 years ago now, I've yet to see any capture to this extent. I mean, some of the things that we were able to do are, we call this PMS rig, mean please make it stop, because it would take you from the ground to 40 feet in the air in about 1.2 seconds. So it was kind of painful. But I have a lot of footage of things like this, but with limited time, we'll just move on and talk real quickly about what I think is coming in the future. There's just one shot here at the end that I wanted to kind of get in. There we go. Boom. So, fun stuff. Facial capture. We talked about facial capture. I am a fan, actually, of what Richard was speaking to, which was taking a video camera. There's a lot of different technologies that do reliable facial. I'm not a huge fan of putting markers on the face, although we did deliver more than 9,000 facial animations for the Matrix films and the video game, which we shot on this rig, actually, which kind of looks like one of the machines from Matrix. But we had to build some interesting rigs to make it friendly for the director. And now I want to get into where we're currently at with companies like Ascension doing magnetic motion capture, which isn't prone to occlusion. A lot of people thought magnetic motion capture was finished and people weren't using it. But in recent years, because we're not worried about, it's not an optical system, and we're not worried about occlusion, we're able to take 0.9 millimeter sensors and smaller and insert them into the human body. And what I wanted to point out, probably more than anything in just the few minutes that I have, is the only way that I've been able to navigate through the technology and through performance capture is understanding the technology. So as soon as I get a new magnetic system or an optical system or whatever it is or whatever I'm investigating, I need to know everything about it, because you'll find that there are a lot more applications and a lot more technologies that are out there that are applicable than what people are using. And in my opinion, we're probably at the 5% or less threshold to where performance capture is going to be used in industry. This is, as an example, is 2D fusion, where they're removing liver stones. And this is something that I've been working on as well, trying to take MRI scans. And this is, again, understanding technology, not just in the field that I'm in, performance capture, but dealing with MRI scanners in general. And we found that to get people through, because of the time it takes, let's say, for General Electric, for one of their scanners to capture an MRI, they're capturing 3 millimeter segments. That doesn't give us enough resolution to actually, it hardly gives you enough resolution to actually identify a lot of the problems. It doesn't give us enough resolution to go in and do the fine work that we can apply the tools that we have to use. Now, we were excited that Siemens was coming out with, and has come out with, a machine now that captures would have taken 30 minutes in the past at, let's say, 1.5 to 1 millimeter of resolution in an MRI scan. They could do in 10 to 15 minutes. Fortunately, the people who have purchased these systems are interested in getting people through, so what they've done is they've pushed it back to 3 millimeter scans and just made the scans faster. So we're still battling that, but when we do get a good scan, there are huge advantages, such as being able, when they're removing liver stones, as an example. A surgeon is finding that they're having to remove approximately 70 to 80% less tissue than they would normally need to remove, because they can take it's called 2D fusion right now, which just takes the scans in X and Y, and they can map it on a one-to-one relationship with their instruments and magnetic sensors on the instruments. So again, these technologies are useful for, it takes this. I still work in entertainment. I just came off The Hobbit. I'll just tell real briefly because I'm under NDA, but I was actually developing an animatronic system for one of the main characters. So I've taken what I've learned in motion capture, biomechanics, and human anatomy and built an animatronic system that's now being used on characters in The Hobbit, and then as Richard mentioned, just because I had built the system, was the only person who was familiar with it, then I went on set and ended up puppeteering some of the main characters in the film. So just to get back to the main point, I'm seeing performance capture and technology enter our lives in such a way these days that we are beginning to live in a virtual world as opposed to creating virtual worlds just for training and simulation. Our lives are being enhanced by it, and it's been started from people like Tom and his company, Ascension and others, who are still pushing the technology forward. And if we do get to questions, which I'll wrap up here in less than a minute, we can talk about specific technologies if we get the chance, because there are technologies that people have dismissed that are still viable. The first thing I asked Tom today was, I said, so I've heard some rumors about what you're up to lately, because, again, I need to know what Tom and his company and companies like him are doing if I'm, going to be able to do my work. So I wish I could speak more specifically about the the specific projects, Gollum on Mount Doom, all the big battle scenes, The Hobbit, Avatar. But due to limited time, we'll just have to take questions if we do have time to do so.
Yeah, that'll be for drinks later, is when you're going to share all those stories with me, right? Absolutely. All right. So actually, if you could stay up there, David, and Tom, if you'll join him up there. Are there questions for them? Again, what we just talked about performance capture and how they've used it in the movie industry. And one of the things I'm always thinking in my head is, and I wrote an article about this in Armed Forces Journal a couple of years ago, is that actually we're trying to do kind of the opposite, right? Which is we're not trying to capture performance so that we can play it back in a medium like that. We want to do the opposite of actually creating these very convincing environments populated by convincing characters with the AI stuff that David talked about, so that we can put our soldiers in there and our relief folks and that sort of thing, and actually do that stress inoculation to prepare them for the kinds of environments they're going to run into. But what's great is the interfaces are becoming more ambient.